Hello, welcome to lesson 2 of our online class, Preparing for Dog for New Baby. Welcome to lesson 2, where we focus on routine and management. I have a feeling that after this lesson, you will feel a lot better and have a little more peace of mind because I'm going to give you some tools and some strategies to feel that you will have some ways to keep everybody safe. So after this class is over, you're going to have a list of products that I will recommend that you put into place in your home, and you'll start getting your dog used to these kinds of equipment that have joined your house so that you can get your dog ready for the new baby to arrive. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so I want to get started by just having a little bit of straight talk about your expectations of what life will be like with kids and dogs. I have a picture of twins here. I don't know if you're expecting twins or not, but let's assume even just one baby, because that's plenty of work as it is. A lot of people have images of things going really smoothly, kind of like this picture where, the babies are content and they're still and the dog is well behaved and everybody's good and living in harmony. And I want that. I want that for everybody. But what can happen is occasionally you end up with a difference in your reality than you had anticipated. And that can lead to sort of an intense desire to rehome your dog because you are really pushed to the brink. You're tired, you're sleep deprived, your body might hurt. You're just kind of overwhelmed. And the dog can just feel like one more thing added to that plate of responsibility. And so I really would like to encourage you to go ahead and acknowledge the expectations that you have, and it's totally okay to want what you want and hope for the best. And I think that's great. But what will happen is that you will ultimately end up with what you end up with, and it may be somewhat out of your control, right? Your dog may be a toy stealer, right? Your dog may get confused and may start taking the baby's toys. And I have to say, in your dog's defense, baby toys and dog toys look a lot alike. And so it's going to be up to you to manage these kinds of things and help your dog not make mistakes by either putting toys away or having kid toys in a specific place where the dog is restricted, and keeping dog toys in a dog toy place and having your children leave those alone. And I know that that's hard. And I know that at the end of the day, you may end up having toys everywhere. I know that when my kids were little, we had toys, it felt like all over the place. And I was lucky because my dog happened to not care about my kids' toys. He didn't like toys in general. So it wasn't, he didn't have any confusion and he didn't take anything. But your dog may be different. And there are a lot of dogs, especially the retrievers, that are very mouthy and they love toys and they love to play tug and they love to destroy stuff. So you're going to need to set some storage spaces up where you could put everything away. I love sort of open shelves with baskets where things can be stored, or even bins that are clear that you can see inside so that you don't have to open everything to look for the one thing you want. But some sort of storage cubbies or things like that where you can elevate things that are more valuable that you don't want your dog to get. You may also end up with a climbing baby like this one here. This is my friend's daughter, and she climbs everything. Everything. I'm not even kidding. She climbs baby gates, she climbs bookshelves, she climbs furniture, and she's very, very clever. And she pulls toys over as steps, as you can see here, so that she can climb up onto whatever she wants. And so you may have envisioned, a baby that stays on the floor. And now you are thrown this sort of monkey wrench and you have to deal with what to do instead. So I just want you to kind of acknowledge that what you're hoping for may be different than what you actually get. And it's okay. And it's also okay to be sad and frustrated if things are different than what you thought they might be. But you need to work with the dog that is in front of you. And you need to work with the baby that is in front of you, because that's the one you've got. Okay. So that's kind of a little mindset thing there, but it is really important when it comes to management. Now we'll just start briefly with routine. the routine is sort of the easier piece of this, which is to say that it's really hard if you have a dog that is 100% reliable on one specific schedule. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. I go out to potty. Then I get my breakfast. Then I get my walk, right? Blah, blah, blah. Every little thing at dinner, 5 o'clock on the dot, I start barking for my dinner, right? Dogs like this are not very flexible, and they're very demanding when they want something. And they let you know. So you could have totally forgotten what time of the day it was, and your dog will remind you. And you may get up and do what the dog is requesting, and that's totally normal. But once you've got a baby, things are going to change. And while you still absolutely have to take care of your dog and potty the dog and feed the dog is going to need to be a little bit more flexible than it used to be. And so it's pretty important that you start now modifying the schedule a little bit. Maybe you stay in bed a little longer in the morning before you go out to take the dog potty. Maybe you push meal times. Maybe one day breakfast is at 6, and maybe one day breakfast is at 6:30, and then you go back to 6:15, and then maybe it's 7. You want to try to build some resilience in your dog so that if you are feeding the baby or changing a diaper, or maybe you're sleeping because you had a terrible night's sleep, that your dog doesn't bother you at 5 in the morning to go out because you're tired and you need your sleep. So in order for you to take care of yourself, it's really important that you help your dog to be more flexible with their time. All right, management. This is a big deal. Now, you're going to notice in the slides that I'm about to show you that I've got lots of examples of equipment, and I will show you a variety of tools that you can use. You're going to have to think about your house, your floor plan, what works for you, what aesthetic you like, and I will provide you links for all of the items that I like, and so that if you want to purchase them and get ready, you can go ahead and have sort of a list of items that I have interacted with myself and that I think are good tools. And then from that list, you can pick whatever you want. And I'm sure you might find other items as well that are very cool. Now, management means that you need to be proactive, and you need to use equipment, and you need to have plans in place. So I want you to have a strategy all the time. Okay, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to always put my dog here when I go to the bathroom so I know my baby's going to be safe. Every time I check my email for work, I'm going to put the baby here and I'm going to put the dog there so that I know everybody's going to be safe, right? And if you have a plan in place, you will feel so much more relaxed. But you also need some equipment, and you may need some tools, right? So you may need a leash, you may need some way of containing the dog, you may need barriers or pens or baby gates, or even a door. Maybe your door, the dog can be on one side of the door in one room while you change diapers, and that's just how you do it. There are going to be some dogs that have trouble with certain forms of management, and so this is why I'm so glad you're starting now. Because some dogs really don't want to be apart from you. And if they are on the other side of the barrier, they will not be as relaxed as this dog here. This dog is very relaxed while the kiddo is playing nicely on the other side of the barrier. But this took practice, and they worked really hard at it. And they rewarded the pup for calm behavior on the other side of the barrier. Okay, so we'll start with this kind of setup. This is one of the more basic setups. The black, it's pretty hard to see. So you can see a wire crate in the corner, and then there is a pen that is attached to the crate that gives the dog more space. And that's called an X pen, which is short for an exercise pen. And in this particular case, the dog even has a little fake grass tray for going potty. This was one of my puppy clients at the time. Her name was Nova, and I was working with their family with their 2 young girls because we wanted the dog to learn some basic obedience, but also we wanted the girls to learn how to safely interact with their puppy. And so this setup was super because Nova, if she had to go potty, she had a place where she could. The girls could play in the family room while the dog was safely contained, and so they could be wild and running around. And puppies generally chase wild kids. And so we wanted to make sure that Nova had a safe place to be when the girls were wild, and when she needed naps, because your dog still needs naps, and you and your baby are going to need naps. And so we need somewhere to contain the dog safely so that you can ensure that quiet time will happen. Okay, this is another example of a containment strategy. This is a pen, and in this particular pen, you could see the dog Bono is on the couch, just chilling out. That's his favorite spot, and he can do what he wants to do and be a dog while the baby can safely play. And that way, mom can empty the dishwasher, and she can make the kitchen is right there. She can see everything from the kitchen, and so she can interact with both the dog and the baby while she's still in that same space. It's really important that you also help your baby learn to be comfortable in this space. But this way, mom can still play with the dog. And originally, we worked with the dog in this pen because he was uncomfortable on the other side of barriers. So we played games where we made it fun for him to go in and retrieve something and come on out at his leisure. But pens are great for babies, but they're also great for dogs as well. You can rotate, right? We call it crate and rotate, but you don't have to use a crate. Crates are really confining for some dogs. They don't like it. Other dogs are totally fine. Again, don't do it suddenly. You need to take time to help your dog build in. Okay, this is Nova again. We talked about her before. This is when she got a little bit older, and I love this barrier. I have one in my house actually, because I have a puppy and a big dog, and occasionally I need to separate them. And we have a wide opening that I didn't want a physical barrier there all the time. And what is great about this barrier is that it rolls. So you tug on it a little bit, you unclip it from the side, and then it rolls up and is stored in a nice little tube, kind of. And so this is great because this is here when you need it, but it's not obnoxious and in your way when you don't want it. But this is great because this kind of barrier protects both the baby and the dog. And if you need people to be separate from the dog, then you can use this tool. I should note that this does kind of lock into place. So if Nova put her feet on the top, it would not sag down, allowing her to simply walk over. It does lock into place. So when it's tight, it remains tight. Okay. Muzzle training is another management tool that in certain cases is really highly recommended. So the dog pictured here in the muzzle is my dog, Barley, my big dog. And in this photograph, he's with a dog that I was fostering from our shelter where I was teaching at the time. And Barley has a history of being unpredictable with small dogs. And so I trained her to wear a muzzle so that I could protect us. I could protect me as an owner and be responsible, right? I could protect my dog from making a bad choice and maybe having fun making a bad choice and then thinking she should repeat that behavior. And I'm protecting other people by, if they're not being responsible and their dog is off leash and comes too close to my dog, if my dog is muzzled, then she can't cause any damage. So I'm being proactive for everyone, myself included. Muzzles are amazing because this type of muzzle is called a basket muzzle, and it allows Barley to breathe and pant and drink and eat while she's wearing it, but she just can't bite anything. Right. And so it's a really nice tool. And I will give you guys a link to my favorite video that teaches you how to use a muzzle like this, because you can't just put it on your dog. You need to train your dog to use it. All right. The safest way for dogs and kids to be together includes an adult sitting in between them. So this is really quite important. This dog in particular made me quite uncomfortable when I was at the house. I did not feel that the dog was a very safe housemate for this baby or for me, frankly, coming into the home. And so the man sitting in between the dog and the baby was a crucial bit of safety to ensure that the dog could not get to the baby. Now, I'm the one taking this photograph. So the man is fully present. He is able to intervene. If he were taking a picture of the dog and the baby, then he would not be able to get there fast enough if this dog decided to do something inappropriate. All right. I realize that for most of you, your babies are not born yet, or they're teeny tiny babies. And so this is sort of jumping the gun a little bit. But I do want you to realize that management really includes a lot of other pieces aside from just barriers and stuff. And I really want to show you what appropriate interactions look like. It's crucial that you intervene when your kids are being inappropriate or when any other kids are being inappropriate. So that will eventually include play dates and things of that nature and visitors. But we also need you to be able to recognize your dog's body language so that you can intervene as soon as your dog becomes uncomfortable. And we have an entire lesson devoted to body language, in fact, which I think will be very helpful to you so that you can recognize how your dog feels at any given time. Okay. But that is going to be a very important management piece, because you'll start to notice, for example, your dog may have a particular trigger like a helium balloon or a noisy bouncy seat that really gets them worked up. And so you can say, okay, it's bouncy seat time. I'm going to put the dog behind a barrier or in another room, or I'm going to give the dog a special, very distracting treat while the baby is doing the thing that causes my dog stress. So you are helping your dog to maintain an emotional balance that keeps them well, Okay. All right. Planning. This is really a big deal. All right. Gone are the days when you can pee alone. And I know that I have talked about this already, and I think it's really, really important. So I'm going to talk about it again. I was recently recorded on a podcast, and when we were talking about this particular topic, she got really emotional because she told me that her mother had a baby niece get killed by the dog when a babysitter was there, and the babysitter left the baby and the dog in the room for a second to run in the kitchen and get a bottle. And the baby was just starting to crawl at that point and moved towards the dog's ball. And the dog bit the baby and killed it instantly. And so she was really, really grateful that I'm talking to you about this, because if you have a plan in place and you share it with every single caregiver, then mistakes like that cannot happen. That dog would not have been given the opportunity to make that mistake. So if you have to leave the room, you need a plan. The dog goes with you. The baby goes with you. There are 3 gates in place. Whatever it is, you have to have a plan. And if you have a plan, you can relax a little bit and feel really good about what to do moving forward. Okay. Now, this woman here, she's being super responsible. She is interacting with her dog while she's nursing the baby. This is great, right? But again, you need a plan, because what if this dog decided that he wanted to jump in her lap while she was trying to feed the baby? Then she would need a different plan, and she would need to know her dog. So this is going to be a big part of your experience working with me and taking this class, is you need to think about your dog. What is my dog doing when he wants attention? Does he poke me? Does he scratch me? I mean, this woman has bare legs. So if the dog was scraping at her to get attention while she was nursing the baby, then it's going to disrupt the whole experience, right? So in this particular case, the dog is calm and is enjoying some affection, but you need a plan for what happens for you in that particular situation. So I've got an assignment for you, and it's called the Peace of Mind Planner. And when you complete this assignment, you're going to feel better. However, you've got to include every caregiver for your dog and baby in this experience. So you guys, if you create a plan for every activity that happens in your household, you have to tell your caregivers what those plans are for consistency. So on this list are included things like, what if you need a nap? What if you have a visitor at the door or a delivery driver? What if you're feeding the baby? What if your dog gets the zoomies and runs around? What if you have to feed the dog? How are you going to keep the baby away? Laundry, cooking, all that sort of stuff. So I want you guys to fill this out. And I want you to notice on here, there's a segment that says, is there any training necessary for you to implement this plan? And our last lesson of this course will be about dog training, where I will give you my recommended list of all of the training behaviors that your dog should know before baby comes home. But in any case, these are things that you can work on regardless of timing. But some management strategies will require some work in advance. So if you want to send your dog to lay on a mat, the dog has to know how to do that. And so that's something that's going to take some work in advance. Okay, your assignment. So you're going to print a copy of the Peace of Mind Planner and give it to every adult or caregiver. I want you to discuss it with your babysitters, make rules, stick to them. And then if you feel up for it, make me really happy if you email me your plan for 2 common situations. So I'm planning on doing XYZ when I fold laundry or when I make dinner. And send me photos if you have the management tools already in place, or if you're working on certain training with your dog to get them ready to use those. I would love to see photos of something like that. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up here. I do want to remind you that I offer video coaching if you need any personal support for your unique situation. Everybody's different. I sometimes hear from families, they feel like different pens and things won't work, or baby gates, because they have an open floor plan house. But you can take me on a little video tour of your house, and I can help you pick appropriate tools and strategies so that you can keep everybody safe. There's always a way, and I'm pretty familiar with those. Thank you for today and for your participation and your interest. I am eager to get those emails from you and hear how things are going. I will see you in the next lesson. Have a great day.